listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, reciprocity, and positivity. And I am your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators on this great, beautiful weekend. So, the weekend symbolizes here another full edition of the Narrative Podcast. My narrators and everybody joined me on Thursday for my live broadcast. I broadcast 2 times during the week, once during the weekday, and consistently every single weekend. I never know what days during the weekday I can broadcast, but it's a staple. The weekends are a staple on the Narrative Podcast. But welcome. Thanks for joining me today. Got a pretty good show for you today. Well, I got a pretty good show for you every day, or every time I upload. I would like to think. But feeling good today. Good content coming your way. My narrators, they already know the demonstration. But for all those unfamiliar with me and my platform, I'm going to give you a brief overview before diving into the content to get you acquainted with my podcast and the content which will be in store for this weekend and what my podcast is all about. So quickly, we're going to do a quick overview and then dive on into the content in just a second. All right, so let's start at the top. Tippy, the name, the Narrative Podcast. Where does that come from? Where does it stem from? What does it mean? So the name of my podcast is called the Narrative Podcast. It's called the Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original culture. So that's why I decided to, do a podcast. The media is always going out of its way intentionally to misrepresent our people, showcase us and highlight it in the most negative light as possible. So what I want to do is I want to design a platform where I'm uplifting, edifying our people and just, trying to improve our self-image that we have about ourselves. And, the rest of the world, how the rest of the world perceives us based on these negative frames of reference that the media gives to the rest of the world about our people and our culture. So that's why I'm doing this podcast. The overall takeaway I want my listeners to get, if nothing else, is the importance of sharing positive content on all their platforms about our people and our culture. As a matter of fact, that's my mission statement. That's my entire purpose here in the space that I'm occupying, is to bring awareness to, why it's so important to share positive content when it comes to our people and our culture. As a matter of fact, that's a perfect segue to my tagline, the Narrative Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original culture. How do I destroy these negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. That's what the Narrative Podcast is dedicated to. That's, what it is in its entirety. It's delivering positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and inspiring those that listen to the podcast to do the same as well. Because like I said, the media intentionally misrepresents our people by showing them and feeding them and regurgitating, false narratives about our people and our culture. Showing them the negative stereotypes and stigmas. So, that's what I'm attempting to do, is break that cycle here on the Narrator Podcast. Now, the media, they intentionally, do this. They primarily do it for profit, but they also do it because the media is controlled by the powers that be. So it's a form of psychological warfare. They want to, control the minds of the masses. They want to basically break down our resistance and desensitize us to violence, to degeneracy, to lewd acts, to lewd conduct. And in doing so, they help solidify their position in society. So, as being the higher echelon, and the higher echelon meaning, wealthy Caucasian people, wealthy white people. They do this to everybody, but they primarily do it to us because, out of everybody else on the planet, they fear us the most because they know their history and they know our history. And their biggest fear is once we stop fighting each other and, mobilize and unify as a people, we will do to them what they've done and what they're currently doing to us. But it's an ill-gotten fear because we don't have a history of, imposing our will on other people. We don't have a history on trying to make people believe what we believe, forcing our beliefs and value systems on everybody else. We don't have a history of rape, of pillage, of, war, famine, pestilence. We don't have a history of all that. That's them. But, like I said, it's psychological warfare. That's the biggest reason why they do it. It's all programming and conditioning the minds of the people. The programming and conditioning the minds of us, our people, is to create a negative self-image of us, to get us to normalize things that aren't normal, to accept things, degenerate behavior as normal, like we do in our culture, and it's worked. We turn a blind eye to a lot of stuff. We see things as normal, like, that's hood, that's black, and, that's how we're supposed to be represented. That's how we're supposed to act. That's how we're supposed to talk. That's how the living conditions we're supposed to be in, because we've been programmed and conditioned by the media to accept that. And that effect on other people outside of our culture, that's how you're supposed to treat those people. That's how you're supposed to, interact and react to these people, because of all this negativity that they feed them. And it's in the, it's in the music, it's in the literature, it's in the books, it's in the magazines, it's on television, it's in movies. So that's why it's important to, share positive content when it comes to our people and our culture. What my podcast is not about, it's not about caring about what people outside of our culture think about our people and our culture. This is basically about setting the story right, telling our story from the perspective of, we are kings and queens, gods and goddesses of this universe. telling our story from the perspective of we're inventors, we're creators, we're educators, we're philosophers, philanthropists. We're essentially the gears that make the world go round. So, basically on this podcast, I make us the heroes instead of the villains like the media consistently tries to do, is try to vilify and demonize our people and our culture. This is, we're living in a digital information age. We share things online. We gather information online. Pretty much we're judged based on the content that we post online these days. This is why I kind of call my target audience my narrators, because, we're in the unique position now living in the digital information age to tell or narrate our stories. So we can change the narrative simply by posting positive content. Because like I said, we're living in the digital age and people judge you based on what content that you're posting online. They judge you as an individual, based on what type of content that you're posting online about. Your beliefs, your value systems, your morals, how you was raised, your upbringing, your background. All this, can be surmised about an individual based on, what they're posting online. So just imagine how we look as a people if we're, feeding into these negative stigmas and stereotypes that the media places over us by posting gang culture, gun culture, pimp culture, whore culture, thought culture. All these negative stereotypes and stigmas about our people and our culture, we feed into and regurgitate online. And then more to the point, even though the media is wicked, evil, has a wicked, evil, diabolical agenda when it comes to our people and our culture, like specifically how to, portray us. They get that, it's basically a supply and demand business at the end of the day. And they gather all their information, all their data based on what we're posting online, what we're clicking on online. And then they'll create content from their statistical research, their supply and demand. So, that's the first rule of business, the supply and demand. Businesses create products based on the consumer's need for said product. And we're exhibiting and displaying as a people the need for degeneracy. That's, the media's take on this, these Fortune 500 companies' take on us as a people. That explains, all these degenerate television shows, movies, negatively portraying and depicting our images and likenesses. So it's up to us as a people to correct that by, putting out positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Like I attempt to do on my platform, the Narrator Podcast. I'm all about, dedicated to uplifting and edifying our people, putting us in the best possible light as possible, because we're demonized and vilified by the media. And, people just have a general, ill-gotten misperception of us as a people. So it's not my intent to enlighten people outside of our culture. It's not my intent to, try to gain favor, acceptance, or, inclusion, or none of that. it's basically just setting the record straight. If we're going to tell our story, tell it correctly. And I already said the perspective of the way I'm telling our story here on the Narrator Podcast, I'm telling it from the perspective of that we're kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. So some more misnomers about the Narrator Podcast. It's a time sensitive. I refer to, kind of jumping over myself, I refer to our people as original people versus black. And the reason why I do that is because, I feel the word original describes us better as a people than black, in the sense of it's more accurate, it's more historically accurate. Meaning we was here first before everybody on the planet. We was here thousands of years before everybody on the planet. Our existence on the planet predates all records, all religious track, and contrary to our unpopular belief, we were originally indigenous to all corners of the globe, and we didn't get to all them other places via slave boats, especially here in the Americas, especially here in the United States of America. While slavery was real and was a very big part of our history, just the actual factual fact, not all of us, are transplants of slavery. The majority of us here was already inhabiting this land, and we got placed on plantations with the transplants from Africa. But another point of why I try to refer to our people as original people as often as I possibly can here on the Narrator Podcast, it unifies us as a people. Because there's so many different types of us, hailing from so many different land masses, believing in so many different things. Anything that divided people, we are divided. But the one common thing, the one strand that binds us all together as a people, we can, all of us, no matter where we're located at in the world, no matter what we refer to ourselves as, what we identify as, what we call ourselves, we can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for every being on this planet. And that's why I try to refer to our people as original people as often as possible here on, the Narrator Podcast. It's not that I'm ashamed of being black. I'm not down with the organization there's organizations out here that say, oh, you shouldn't refer to yourself as black. You're not black. I know of them, but, I'm not that. But, you know what I'm saying? I just feel that that's more historically accurate, and then also unifies us as a people as well. Some more misnomers you should know about this podcast before diving into the content today. It's time sensitive. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast. The purpose of me doing that basically is to, engage the listener, keep you, attentive to the content that I'm trying to share with you, because it's an audio platform. It also helps me from veering way off putting. It basically helps me stay concise and to the point, and I'm able to touch on a variety of subjects in a short amount of time, and basically so I'm not shooting over nobody's heads and or dumbing myself down. I'm just got a nice flow with the content. I'm segueing to different subjects and transitioning into different topics. And it's just, being time efficient it's more efficient. It makes the content flow smoother. You can digest it better, and you don't have to clear your entire schedule if you miss an episode here and there. So that's why I try to make it time sensitive. Last and most certainly not least thing about the Narrator podcast is that this is a positive space. I don't indulge, promote, endorse, or share gossip. This space is to uplift and edify our people. As a matter of fact, the only time I bring up a celebrity's name or a famous person's name, it's not the clout chase or nothing like that. It's basically to, illustrate a point that I'm making about our people, to frame up the overall point that I'm trying to make. And, everything, all my sentiment that I convey here on the Narrator podcast is that, yes, our people, we have our in-house issues. We got our things we need to work on as a people. But here's why we do this. Here's why we act like that. We've been programmed and conditioned to carry and conduct ourselves and act like this, to go outside the true nature of who we are as a people, because we've been subjected and exposed to this type of, influence. So that's the perspective that I try to keep on my podcast. So yes, we do need to take accountability for our actions. Yes, we do at some point as a people take accountability, and, we got to do better. We got to work on this and da-da-da-da. But at the same time, the majority of everything we do, any negative thing we do as a people, is because we're going against our true nature, because we've been programmed and conditioned by the powers that be to act like that. So this is in the place of gossip. I don't promote it. I don't endorse it. I don't stamp it. I don't drag brothers and sisters through the mud. I don't kick brothers and sisters while they're down. I try to encourage people not to do the same. Now, what I do tell the truth. If a brother or a sister is intentionally irresponsibly using their platforms to make statements about our people and our culture, and the things that they're saying or doing misrepresent us in such a way, it got us all out here looking crazy. I will say something about that, but other than that, I don't call people out. I don't, gossip and slander and none of that. I don't try to promote or endorse any of that. Like I said, it's a positive space. It's just dedicated to uplifting and edifying our people. Last bit of business, to help me keep my time deadline that I set for my podcast, I've divvied it up into sections. I'll explain each section as I come to them. Each section has a speaking point, and so that's basically the format of the Narrative podcast. It's divided into sections, and each section has a speaking point, and I'll brief you all on each section as I come to them. So now that you know what this podcast is all about, the format, without any further ado, I'm going to dive right on into the content. Well, my very first section is the promo section of the Narrative podcast. In this section, what I'm doing is I'm offering original people that own and operate their own business, or, throw events, or, needs, like have a need to promote something, to the opportunity to hit me up to, promote whatever they got going on. And the reason why I'm doing that, while our people, especially here in America, United States, we are due reparations. And until we get that, we got to do for self. And to do for self, we need to, patronize businesses that original people own and operate, and endorse businesses owned and operated by original people. So that's precisely what I'm doing in that section. I'm doing my part to help circulate the original people dollar within the original people community by promoting and endorsing or providing the opportunity for original people to hit me up to have, whatever they got going on, promote it. Nobody can endorse it if they don't know it exists. And I'm providing opportunity, for you to reach out to me, to utilize my platform to let the world know, come check you out. That's what I'm doing in the promo section. So if you want something promoted here on my platform, just hit me up, Halsey Allen at passionwebmail@poeticpassion.host. In the subject bar, type promo. Body of the email, tell me everything you want me to know about whatever it is that you need or want promoted, and I will gladly promote it for you on my platform for 110% free. I'm not charging any money for it. And just sidebar, the more specific you are, the better job I can do promoting it. So be specific as possible about anything that you want promoted, and I promote it for you. I'm going to run it back one more time before going on to the next section. So the promo section here on the Narrator Podcast, if you need or would like some free promotion for anything that you got going on, hit me up, Halsey Allen at passionwebmail@poeticpassion.host. Subject bar, type promo, body of the email. Let me know about anything you want promoted. All right, next section. This section is called the contest section. This section is a contest that I'm running exclusively for this podcast, the Narrative Podcast. This is an incentive/listener participation exercise. Basically, I'm trying to get my listeners, enthralled with the content, just to, interact with me by participating in this contest, and also rewarding you if you've been listening to me for day one and supporting me from day one, and, to incentivize you if you don't know about the Narrator Podcast, the opportunity to win a prize for participating in the contest topic. And the contest topic is to share your most recent shopping while black experience. And the name of this contest is called the Chew on This Contest. And the entry is 110% free. I'm using the exact same email address that I used for the promo. The way I'm separating the two is by the subject bars. So to enter the Chew on This Contest, hit me up, Halsey Allen at passionwebmail@poeticpassion.host. And in the subject bar, type Chew on This / shopping while black. If you don't want to type the entire word, shopping while black, you can type SWB in all caps. In the body of the email, make sure to include your most recent shopping while black experience, followed by your mailing address so I know where to send your prize, and then what you want as a prize. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, the prize is a bulk supply of your favorite snack food item. So that's what I'm giving away for entering the Chew on This contest. That's why I call it the Chew on This contest, because it's kind of a play on words. I'm giving you something to chew on physically, and then also something to ponder. So But anyway, and the last thing is tell me what type of snack food item you would want as your prize. I'm going to run it back one more time before diving into the next section. So to enter the Chew on This contest, hit me up, Halsey Allen, at passionwebmail at poeticpassion.host. In the subject bar, type Chew on This / or dash Shopping While Black. If you do not want to type the entire word, Shopping While Black, you can type SWB in all caps, and that's just fine. Body of the email, make sure to include your most recent Shopping While Black experience, your mailing address so I know where to send your prize, and then of course tell me what you would like as your snack for your prize, and I'll send it to you. Very simple, that's it and that's all. Now on to the primary, the core section of the Narrator podcast. This is the highlight section. Those two were just like the preliminary sections. But here's like the primary section. What I do here, provide positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And in this section of the Narrative podcast, the positive frame of reference that I'll be providing about our people and our culture is doing for self or entrepreneurialism. And the reason why I'm doing that is because we don't have a lot of positive frames of reference about that in our culture or about our people. The very few frames of references that we have about, being an entrepreneur come in the form of scripted reality television shows. And in these scripted reality television shows, the producers go out of their way to depict our people and our culture in a negative light. All those people on those shows are entrepreneurs. They're wealthy 5 or 6 times over, making 6 figures or better, and have several companies under their umbrellas. But what we're getting shown on these scripted reality television shows about entrepreneurialism in regards to our people, we're not seeing all that. All we're seeing is the dysfunction. We're seeing them fight on camera. We're seeing them inebriated, cussing, or buck dancing and shucking and jiving, just acting buffoonish, just acting like nobody attempted to raise them. No class, no decorum, no grooming. So, they just basically play up the degeneracy within our community rather than the focal point being somebody made it out the hood and they're millionaires and they're taking care of business. They're, financing the careers of other people and helping people get out of the same bond that they once were in. So here in this section, I'm walking you through an entrepreneur's journey. I'm bypassing that because number one, I'm an audio platform, so now don't see anything, but I'm guiding you through an entrepreneur's journey, telling you, everything about their business, like how they came up with their idea, the year it was founded, did they put their own money up, how they come into the idea, how they come up with the idea, and how do they enrich people's lives with their product. So basically all the entrepreneurs that I highlight in the highlight section meet this criteria. Of course, they're an original man or an original woman. They hire their own. They do some type of philanthropy, some type of community outreach. They either pay into a nonprofit organization or, they have their very own nonprofit organization. And last but not least, they line up with my theme. And my theme for this week and probably until the end of this month is the season of winter. Oh yeah, and then one last thing too. Many of these companies that I highlight in the highlight section are family owned and operated. So I'm giving you, the positive frame of reference about generational wealth. So now that you know what the highlight section is all about, I'm gonna dive right in. So like I said, it is the season of winter. And in winter, we got a lot of things going on, we're doing a whole lot of eating, chowing down for the holidays. We shouldn't be, but just be honest, you are doing holiday snacking. But in the winter, all months have national food holidays. And so the season of winter is no exception. And today is December 2nd, which marks National Fritter Day. So I will be highlighting businesses that specialize in selling fritters. So if you didn't know what a fritter is, basically a fritter or frittering is a cooking method. It's just basically like deep frying either dough, some type of dough, either derived from flour or corn. And some fritters are stuffed with some type of filling, or have some type of glaze to it, either with meat, vegetables, or, cheese or whatever. There's all different types of styles of fritters, but, frittering or fritters, is basically a cooking method. It just basically means you're deep frying some, dough. So having said that, I also want to, throw out a quick little tidbit about, one of the most common fritters we have in the States coming from our people, and it was derived during slavery, was the hush puppy. Now the hush puppy, was derived in slave times because the runaway slaves, they would keep cornmeal on them and then form them into balls, just wet, and drop them on the ground because they were getting chased all over the bayou by, bloodhounds. And they would lay the wadded up cornmeal concoction on the ground for the dogs to stop barking. And they would be like, hush puppy. That's where that term comes from, hush puppy. But that's, I just put that frame of reference out there to show you, that fritters is like deeply rooted within our culture. Later on, they started deep frying the cornmeal concoction, like to throw some down for the dogs, and then also to sustain themselves, as they were literally running for their lives, trying to get freedom, something for themselves to snack on. But I will not be highlighting, hush puppies. So like one of the most common fritters here in America kind of comes from, Dutch, the Dutch community, which is like the apple fritter. And the apple fritter is kind of like, the most common fritter in the US of A. And those are the businesses that I'll be highlighting today, businesses that specialize in selling apple fritters. Now the first business that I'll be highlighting today on the highlight section, and you guys, it's going to be super duper brief today. I usually have 2 to 3 But I could have went so many ways because, like I said, a fritter is versatile. It isn't just sweet. You also have savory fritters as well. But these two particular businesses that I'll be sharing are kind of intertwined with one another. So that's why I picked to share them. And when you hear their origin, you'll see why. But I'll just be only highlighting two businesses this week. So my first business I'll be highlighting on the highlight section is Old Fashioned Donuts. And that's a business out in Chicago, Illinois. It was established in 1972 by a brother named Barrett Bullock. And also, another sidebar, I streamline these so I can stay on task with my time restriction that I got from my broadcast. So the story is lots more complicated than what I'm making it. Like there's way more elements to it, but I'm giving you the highlights on the highlight section. It's not a super deep dive. But anyway, so it was established in 1972 by a brother named Barrett Bullock. Bullock is originally from Colorado, and he came up to Chicago. He rides motorcycles. It didn't really say why he chose Chicago out of all the states in the world to go to, but he went up there in like the late 60s. He got his first job, and he's a motorcycle buff too. So he rides motorcycles like back and forth. He still got a whole lot of family in Colorado, and he also likes to ride. I don't think he's in any like motorcycle clubs or nothing like that. But that was just like in his bio for his hobbies and interests. But he previously worked at a place called Huck Finn, and I forgot to write the other place down, but he worked at two donut places in Chicago before he opened up his own donut shop. And initially he didn't sell, apple fritters in the beginning when he opened up his own donut shop. It was just basically popular demand of the people. He had a whole lot of law enforcement. I know that's a negative stereotype for police, but like in Chicago, a whole lot of police, they eat donuts. And I guess like the crowd favorite is the apple fritter. His establishment didn't have an apple fritter, so he started making apple fritters. And it became award-winning in that area. He's been on talk shows, national talk shows. People raving about his apple fritters. It was just his own recipe. He just culminated, all the experience he learned at the other donut shops that he worked before he opened his own. And, he got an award-winning apple fritter recipe. He doesn't really have a website, but he got a brick and mortar location. He does have a Facebook, so just type in Old Fashioned Donuts on your browser on Facebook and you will see it. The physical address is 11248 Michigan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. That's in the Cook County area. Telephone number 772-995-7420. And, he specializes in, the apple fritter. He sells all kinds of donuts, but, his biggest draw is the apple fritter. The brother is 83 now. He just turned 83 in October. So he's still going strong, still running his business. Is firmly rooted in the community. So that's his outreach of giving back, is he hires his own. He got a really good training program. It's all experience. Nothing like no new tech. This is all old school methods. So that's what he's teaching, experience that'll last a lifetime. Something you can't be taught. Computers could never simulate the type of expertise that he has in making those pastries. Now he also sells Polish sausage. Polish sausage, that's a Chicago staple. He also has burgers and Polish sausages too. But primarily it's just donuts, and his main draw, what had garnered national attention, is the apple fritter. So, me myself, I don't eat none of that, no dairy, no meat, no dairy, but I'm not going to rain on nobody else's parade and tell them what they can and cannot. So if you enjoy a good apple fritter, go patronize that brother's shop. It's called Old Fashioned Donuts in Chicago, Illinois. Proprietor name is Barrett Bullock. So go hit that up. You'll enjoy it. Let's give a Warm Narrative podcast round of applause for our brother Barrett Bullock. Old Fashioned Donuts with the award-winning apple fritter. All right, moving right along. Next business I'll be highlighting here on the Narrator podcast is called D&D's Place. So remember what I said, these two businesses are intertwined? Well, you're finna find out why. Now, this establishment is owned and operated by a gentleman by the name of David Brenton. And he runs this establishment along with his wife, Lolita. So it's a family-owned and operated business. So like I said, providing you the positive frame of reference of generational wealth. So, that is a family-owned and operated business. Now, it's intertwined with the other business because this gentleman went into business from being a customer at the other proprietor. So like his story is, he went in out and about one day with his wife. They was driving in the Roseland district in Chicago, which is where his shop is, and they went to Old Fashioned Donuts. And so instantly, according to the article, that's when he had his awakening. That's what he knew, what he wanted to do with the rest of his life. He wanted to make donuts, specifically the apple fritter, because that's what he went into the shop for, was their award-winning apple fritters. So after he gets his apple fritter, I guess he's just kind of marinating on the flavor, hanging out kind of outside the shop that hadn't left the neighborhood yet. He goes back in to the shop and asks the brother that owns the shop, Barrick, his recipe for the apple fritter. He said he wants to learn how to make the apple fritters. And that's exactly what he did. He spent the next 3 months of his life studying under Barrett Bullitt to learn how to make donuts, specifically the apple fritter. But all the donuts, everything, his entire inventory, he was studying under, his tutelage. And he was working a full-time job in transportation. The article didn't say what he did in transportation. It was unclear. So he might have, he might have been a bus driver, or like they got L trains. He might have been the L train conductor. Subways, I think, Chicago had a subway. They got two. They got an L train and a subway. So he could have been the L train or a subway conductor. The article just said in transportation. But anyway, so, doing his day job during the day, studying underneath Barrett, learning how to make, pastries, on his off days when he's not studying. In addition to that, he is a devout Christian. So he considers his donut shop a part of his ministry. Him and his wife found their Lord and Savior, amid their marriage, just like right before he went to the donut shop. It's like, I think they just got born again a few months before he went to the donut shop to purchase himself the apple fritter. But he took it as a sign from God that was what he must be, doing what he needs to do with the rest of his life. And so he's dedicated the rest of his life to making pastries. He now has his own award-winning fritter. Same recipe, but he got a different twist. They don't taste identical. Like, he didn't say what his, recipe. I guess he tweaked the recipe and put his own little flair on it. But he got an award-winning apple fritter recipe as well. And he got national acclaim for his apple fritter. So two of the best apple fritters in the city of Chicago is Old Fashioned Donuts and D&D Donuts. So like I said, he said, that's part of his ministry. He, employs anybody that needs a job. He gives away his products. I think he sells hot food in addition to just the pastries. But primarily what he specializes in is the apple fritter. So that's it, and that's all. Super brief and to the point today, guys. Oh, wait. So, telephone number is, oh wow, I forgot to put it in my notes. 1 second, guys. All right, apologize for that. I had to look it up. So, his physical location is 8324 Kinsey Avenue, 60652. Telephone number is 773-778-770. And the email or the website address is dnddonuts.business.site. You can type D&D's place. I've been saying donuts. It's D&D's place in Chicago, Illinois. But the website is dnddonuts.business.site. And I'm going to spell it for you so to be as accurate as possible, because it's not donuts, D-O-U-G. It's not spelled like that. It's spelled dnddonuts.business.site. And it's all, lowercase, no spaces. So it's D&D's place in Chicago, Illinois. And so go support that. brother, if you like a good apple fritter, like they got some hot food too, but they specialize in the apple fritter and other donuts. So join me in the giving a warm narrative. Round of applause for David Brenton and his wife Loretta's D&D's Palace. All right, guys, we're coming to a head, moving right along. This section is called the Spotlight section. In the Spotlight section, what I'm doing is I'm spotlighting figures within our community that go above and beyond doing positive things for the liberation movement, either through their deeds or the way they carry and conduct themselves. So everybody I spotlight in the Spotlight section, there's some type of activist, or some type of advocate. So some type of activist or advocate, they're being, civil rights activists or something like that within our community, or they're advocating for some type of cause, or they're giving back, to the community, food, resources, education, whatever, or just, speaking on the cause, using their platforms to speak on the cause, speak on our issues. Or again, you be in a positive frame of reference that we need to visually see, how to visually carry yourself. And the types of people that I spotlight usually are in the entertainment industry, such as actors, actresses, recording artists, directors, producers, writers, Facebookers, YouTubers, TikTokers, social media influencers, religious figures. That's who I usually highlight, or spotlight, but I've kind of taken it back. Haven't been doing that so much lately. I really try to spotlight just regular people, because I don't want to feed into the negative stereotype of that's all we know how to do is entertain. But I might start spotlighting entertainers to death again, because our entertainers, they get attacked like mad. So the purpose of me spotlighting is basically to create the healthy habit to responsibly use your media platforms to celebrate a brother or sister, instead of using your platform to destroy a brother or sister, trying to kick them while they're down, besmirch their reputation, taking jabs, taking shots, because we're the only people that do that. Like, nobody does that but us. Nobody uses their platforms to throw shade on another brother or sister except us. Like, you never see nobody in the Italian community using their platform to throw shade at another Italian. You never see anybody in the Spanish community using their platform to throw shade against another Spanish person, and so on and so forth. We're the only people that, misuse their platforms to, dig in another brother or sister, publicly air out their dirty laundry and drag them through the mud and bring people into the conflict that don't have anything to do with why you dislike that particular brother or sister. We're the only ones to do that. So with this spotlight section, I'm basically, showing all heroes don't wear capes, and to celebrate a brother or a sister for doing something positive for the community. And then not for nothing, your brother, Halsey Allen, created the wave for spotlighting. Because before I created the spotlight section on the Narrative podcast, nobody was spotlighting anybody. And that's a fact. So I got to kind of pop my collar on that.
You are now listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
In a real way. But yeah, as they say, imitation is the best form of flattery. So now I'm seeing everybody spotlighting somebody. Nobody was spotlighting nobody. Nobody was giving it up to nobody, giving people's credit where their credit was due, utilizing their platforms to bring positive attention to a brother or sister, rather than taking the opportunity to throw shade, to throw dirt on their name, or jab, or throwing a jab, or kick them while they're down. So, if I've inspired other people to do that, that makes me feel good, even if they don't, verbally acknowledge that they listen to the Narrative Podcast or know who I am. The proof's in the pudding, because so many people are doing it now. So, yeah. But anyway, without no further ado, the spotlight, this week's spotlight of the Narrative Podcast. One more thing. Every week when I spotlight, I go back and forth. 1 week I do a male, 1 week I do a female, just to keep everything even and fair. So today's spotlight goes to a brother by the name of Barry Axius. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Or affectionately known to people in this area as Unc or Mr. Axius. Barry is a Sacramento, California native. He became interested in community activism by watching his father provide guidance to people in the community of Sacramento. He took care of his mother, who fought mental illness. Then later on in his life, he became the founder and CEO of the Voice of the Youth. He started that program in 2008. Voice of Youth is basically a program, of course. It has youth in the title, so it's aimed at the youth, specifically our youth, original people youth, to teach them, the basic concepts, how to carry and conduct themselves, teach them manners, teach them decorum, teach them how to be proactive within their community, keep their community clean, take pride in themselves, pride in their community. They're pillars of, excellence. They're basic pillars of excellence, like I said, is patience, passion, and consistency. That's what their entire, focal point for that program is about for the youth. The address is voiceoftheyouth.org. So make sure you type in voice of the, keyword the youth, because there's another organization that's not his organization, just called Voice. Voice of Youth. There's another organization called Voice of Youth. His organization is called Voice of the Youth. The physical address is 22151 Florin Road, Suite 35, Sacramento, California, 95822. Telephone number 916-949-9026. Info at thevoiceoftheyouth.org. So more about Mr. Axios. He is a mentor. He is a motivational speaker. He is a political activist. He advocates for mental health. He advocates for domestic violence. He advocates for prison reform. He advocates for, pretty much anything going on within our community, anything, that we suffer from as a people. He advocates for it. Poverty, being disenfranchised, education. You can track his story online. We got all kinds of motivational talks. You can go follow him, Barry Axios, on Twitter or X. You can type his name into the YouTube browser, and you'll see all the causes that he's lent his voice to, all the interviews within things that have happened in the community of Sacramento, issues with law enforcement. He's really popular and famous and noted for that. Like every time, a law enforcement officer kills, somebody from our community, he usually goes out into the community first. He's usually the first on the scene to find out why and provide resources for the community that was affected by what happened. So, that brother is a stand-up brother. He's doing amazing things with our youth. So go check his story out online and join me into giving him a Warm Narrative podcast. Round of applause. Thank you, brother, for all you do for the community and our youth. We need more brothers like you. You're very inspiring, motivational, and uplifting. We appreciate you and everything you do. Let's give it up, y'all, for Barry Axios. All right, moving right along here on the Narrative Podcast. Next section is titled the Health and Wellness section. Now, in this section, it is self-explanatory. It is just how it sounds. I'm giving tips about health and wellness. The specific reason why I'm doing that is because I feel our people, original people, we are at the target of so many things that jeopardize our health. As a matter of fact, we're being targeted. It's an inherent agenda to get rid of us. And we are being attacked, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So in this section, what I'm doing is I'm giving tips to fortify your bodies against all the areas that we're being attacked mentally, physically, and spiritually. And here's the part where I do my disclaimer. Number one, I'm not a herbalist. I'm not a healer. That's first and foremost. Two, this content, all my content, is for anybody to listen to from any walk of life. No matter, your gender, your ethnicity, your creed, your religion, whatever, you're more than free to listen to the Narrative Podcast. Having said that, all the content here on the Narrative Podcast, my target demographic, my target listening audience is my people, original people. So all the content on here is geared and aimed specifically towards my community. Especially in this section, because, in religion, they try to teach us, we're all the same, we're all God's children, and, whatever, that's all well and dandy, but, we're all different. We all have cultural differences, culturally, Within our culture, dietetically, things I can consume that will nourish and strengthen me will harm and be hurtful towards your composition and vice versa. So all the tips that I'm giving in this section is for my people to strengthen us mentally, physically, and spiritually. So some examples of the physical tips that I give, usually it'd be about, a fruit, vegetable, the properties of a fruit, vegetable, herb, extract, or plants you can either ingest or apply topically to improve your overall health, or, some type of physical exercise you can perform to improve your health, or the mental side of it, things you can do to stay in sound mind, because the mind is, where it all starts. This is primarily why they call illnesses dis-ease. This is when you get sick, when your mind is at dis-ease. So you need to do things to put healthy thoughts in your mind, to control what you can't control going on around you. You can control what's going on internally, by, making sure the functions that your mind is functioning properly. And so some things on the mental side I'll do is meditation, is mindful breathing, mindfulness, being aware, being emotionally intelligent, tips and techniques to improve your thinking and, all the faculties of the brain and in the mind. On the mental side of it. On the spiritual side of it, we're being spiritually attacked as well. So I teach you, I share with tips. I don't teach you, I share tips on how to guard yourself, from spiritual attacks. Recognize when you're being spiritually attacked. And, share techniques on, how you can guard your spirit, basically. So, yeah. And then for a curveball, I talk about, divine law, quantum law of attraction, esoteric type stuff, divine order, and just, stuff of that nature. But today, we're on the mental side of it. Today, I'll be talking to you about the health benefits of sun gazing. So sun gazing is basically like a form of meditation. It's a meditative practice that involves staring directly at the sun. Now, this is the part where I say, all my content is aimed and directed at my people, original people. Because there are some people not of our community whose the sun's rays is harmful and damaging and can cause skin cancer and all kinds of other health, deficiencies. So for y'all's community, sun gazing might not be for y'all. But the sun, from the children of the sun, our people, is beneficial. Because Dr. Sebi says, has taught us that, we are an electric people, and exposure to sunlight, increases the electricity that we naturally have about us. So first of all, sun gazing helps you, helps your attention span, your attention span with all the harmful additives, things they're putting in the food, air, and water that's harmful, especially white sugar, does something to your attention. This will help you focus and pay more attention. It clears your mind of distraction. It decalcifies the pineal gland and improves melatonin and serotonin. Now, melatonin, that is, one sec, because I know one is for sleeping, one is for woke functions, and one is for sleep functions. I don't want to confuse them. I'm gonna look it up right quick. Yeah, so basically serotonin, that is basically when you're sleeping and improves, REM sleep, rapid eye movement. And melatonin is your brain functions when you're woke. So it decalcifies the pineal gland, improves melatonin and serotonin, improves dream recall. So staring at your, the sun, for all these people that believe they're, clairvoyant and their dreams mean something, but then you wake up, you can't remember your dream, or you have to ask somebody else to interpret your dream. This is one of the benefits of sun gazing. You can interpret your own dreams. You can retain what happened in your dream. It activates DNA, and it strengthens your natural electromagnetic field. And for our people, Dr. Sebi said we are electric. The electric diet works best for us. So, of course, we have electricity coursing through our bodies, especially in the brain. The brain, sends out electronic synapses to all parts of the body. So, of course, you want to increase that. So for our people, direct exposure to sunlight supercharges our cells, supercharges our melanin. So for our people, sun gazing is where it's at. Use common sense. Don't stare at it so long you go blind, duh. But, just try it 5 to 10 minutes a day. Can't go wrong. There's no documented studies supporting it, but there's no documented studies not confirming it either. So yeah, that's what we do know about us, our relationship with the sun. Can't talk for everybody else, but our, direct relationship we have with the sun, that sounds like it's it for us. So, health and wellness tip of the day, sun gazing. All right. Getting to the nitty gritty, we're almost done here on the Narrative Podcast. Next section is my speaking points. In this section, what I'm doing is I'm talking about things happening either within our community or all over the world. And the purpose of me doing that is to control the narrative. Because the media goes out of this way to intentionally, have us looking and sounding crazy. So in this section, what I'm doing is I'm bringing into focus whatever is happening in the world or within our community into focus from our perspective. So I want to touch on a couple subjects today. It's going to be kind of rapid fire because I'm getting close to my time mark. But, I'm going to give my little spiel on a couple things and then, be heading out of here. So up first, John Tershed, I think I'm saying his name right, is being charged with stabbing old dude Derek Chauvin 52 times. I'm not laughing that he did it, but 52 times, wow. He's being, tried for that, for the attempts at murder. 52 times ain't no accident. He said he wasn't trying to, unalive him. Excuse me, I was about to say the K word. Unalive him. But he was planning to, hurt him. In addition, onto his rap sheet, he has, participating in premeditated, gang activity against somebody else, and basically like RICO Act type stuff. So he got an extensive rap sheet for that. I gotta say, I'm not too remorseful. Jail is actually too good for that dude. Death, being unalive, is actually too good for somebody like that. I'm still in disbelief that all the other police officers that were just standing around watching have not been tried and convicted. Like we just went for the cookie. They threw us a cookie. He was the cookie because he was the actual one doing it. But, in order for this thing to stop, they need to pass some type of law or legislation that will, make all in the know. If you was present, if you was on the scene, you didn't do nothing or say nothing, that you get the same time too. Because we got a law for civilians that even if we didn't participate in the crime, if we was with the person that did it, we're going to jail too. So it should be like that for law enforcement as well. If you standing around just watching and ain't saying nothing and ain't doing nothing, you should, get in trouble too. But definitely not remorseful. Like I said, being unalived is too good for him. Being where he's at is too good for him. He needs to suffer. Judge rejects Trump's notion to dismiss federal election. That's next in the news. It's just cap. It's a deflection for everything that's going on in the world. This is to get us to, basically, I hate to say it, they're using the orange guy as a scapegoat for everything going on in this country. Because it's easy to, throw the daggers at somebody that doesn't care one way or the other. And Trump has a just I don't care attitude because he grew up wealthy and entitled, and he really don't care because it's like, he's never had any consequences. And so it's very easy to be upset with somebody with that type of mentality, but at the same time, it's just a deflection. That's all it is just a deflection. This whole, it's a song and dance that they're doing. He's going to be president again, but until the meantime, they're throwing all this dirt and shade to try to deflect us from the real issue, like what these people are doing with our money and our resources in this country that grossly affects everybody. All right. Next topic. Sean P. Diddy Combs, P. Diddy, Love, as he's now called, he legally changed his name to Love. Allegedly in these streets, he's been a really bad boy. Literally, not figuratively. He's literally been a bad boy. He got the, his record label is called Bad Boy Entertainment, but, he's been a bad boy. He has some dealings with a woman who he's dated, Cassie, the singer, and he's been charged with doing some lewd, crass acts. And now all of it's starting to come out the woodwork. Everybody got their 2 cents to put in. So just to reiterate, I don't engage in gossip. I don't promote gossip. I don't promote slander against a brother or sister on my platform. The perspective that I'm going to be unpacking what's going on with Mr. Combs is the perspective of, selective outrage. That's how I'm covering this particular thing. And meaning, within our community, we got a selective outrage. We pick and choose what to be upset about, when to be upset about it. So allegedly, because this thing got onion layers to it. Allegedly, he's done all this bad stuff, but he's been an entity within the industry forever. Forever. So all these entertainers, all these celebrities, they've been around him, they've been in his company. People have for years been insinuating, saying things about his sexuality, how he gets down, the freak parties, the wild antics. We've seen it all up and down our timelines. It's been up in our face. If it's true, if it's not true, we've all been privy to it, is what I'm saying. We've all had this knowledge and information, yet we chose to support his projects anyway. We chose to watch all his reality television shows anyway. We chose to listen to his music anyway. We chose to not condemn him. And having this knowledge of things that I don't know him. I've never met the guy. I don't know him from a hole in the ground other than his music and television. Never seen him, locked eyes with him. It's just funny now that Cassie, who is not a sister, she's a white woman basically, says, hey, he did all this to me, give me some money. And now everybody is like stomping him out, like doing a public style lynching for all this stuff that he's done in his life. And, everybody's like trying to profit and capitalize off it, his downfall. And this is something our people have been programmed and conditioned to do. Now, first and foremost, if this is true, because anytime you're saying allegedly, it's not being confirmed or denied. Only entertainers can confirm it and deny it, can 110% concrete evidence say, yes, he's a freak like that, he's a monster, whatever. Allegedly, he did all this stuff. So, okay, if he did do it, say if he did do it, say it's all true, everybody's benefited from it. This is kind of like R. Kelly all over again. This is what I hate about hip hop. We wait until it gets so staggering, so many bodies pile up, we want to say something. We don't say anything right at the height of it to try to neutralize it, to try to defuse it, to try to decommission it before it gets to the point where it's actually hurting us. We want to wait until it just culminates and proliferates to the point that you can smell it before you see it. And that's wrong. So don't wait until, it's the wave to do it. Now everybody's coming out the woodwork to say something bad about him, to share a weirdo story about him. Oh, I know he been a weirdo. Yeah, I've been telling people he's a weirdo for years. Da-da-da-da-da. Don't wait until it's popular, until it's trending. Do it when you know. Say it when you know. Say it when you know about it. That's like letting a pedophile walk the streets and you don't do nothing. That's what like letting a rapist walk the street and you don't do nothing. You want to wait until it's profitable for you, till there's something in it for you to say something about it. And we got that bad in our community. So all these entertainers been knowing, but as long as they get their product, promoted, as long as they get a P. Diddy beat, as long as they're on the guest list, then it's all good. And they turn a blind eye to it and a deaf ear to it, as long as it benefits them. Now, I know another defense is, well, he's super powerful, he's super rich, he uses money and affluence to bully people. And, okay, a lot of famous, wealthy people do it. A lot of famous, wealthy people do it. Why is he getting so much top billing over all the people in the tiny hat community? Why ain't nobody said nothing about the Weinsteins and the Goldbergs and the Goldsteins? But we want to sit up there and kick this brother while he's down. Because at the end of the day, everybody's popping up with receipts of how big a weirdo he is. He also got receipts of how good a brother he was. Making the band. Like that was the first all-black reality television show on television. Like, if they got paid or didn't, it launched them into something. They procured some type of money from it. If they feel they didn't get the money that they were supposed to, there was virtual unknowns. He created a platform for them. And whether or not he stole from his artist or not, he signed them. If he didn't sign them, the world wouldn't know they exist. They would have never got a deal. That's one way to look at it. Another way, anything that happens in our community, first person that comes out is Diddy, it's Jay, it's Beyonce, it's Tyler, and then a few more every once in a blue moon, Shaq, but Diddy consistently. Every time something foul happens in our community, they need somebody to pick up the tab for the funeral. And like I said, I'm not making excuses for him. Like I said, I'm not making a case for him. I'm not excusing his actions. If it's true, I'm definitely not condoning it. Because people like that use their power and their influence to hurt other people, to mess up opportunities for other people. They're unspeakable monsters. Being unalived is too good for them. Going to jail is too good for them. They deserve to suffer. They deserve, people like that deserve to suffer. R.I.P. legend Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle said it best. Whatever you do in life, you might have thought you got away with it, but you would never, get away with it energy-wise. I'm paraphrasing. I ain't got his exact quote. Like, you would never escape that energy. Whatever wrong you did to somebody, whatever wrong you committed against somebody, you might have beat the case. You might have, no repercussions might not have directly happened to you as a result of it, but you would never escape that energy. It's going to come back and haunt you with the force, with the vengeance. You'll never get away with nothing in life. Nothing in life. No such thing as a perfect crime. So if he did do that, believe me, he's paying for it. Not just financially, but he's paying for it in other ways too. But one more thing I want to touch on before, I get off this section of the Narrator podcast is within our community, it seems like we forgive every single body. Everybody gets a pass, a forgiveness pass. Example, like Amber Geiger, we forgave her. Dylan Roof, we forgave him. But we can't forgive each other. We don't even create the atmosphere to where somebody can take accountability for something that they've done wrong and say, hey, I was wrong. I'm sick. I got a problem. Forgive me. We can't even create the atmosphere to where if he did do that, he can come forward and, throw himself to the mercy of the people and say, I'm sorry for all this. Please forgive me. We ain't even created the atmosphere for that. We like to kick people when they're down. And we're the only community that does that. We kick each other when we're down. You ain't never seen the Asian community kick each other when they're down. You ain't never seen the Italian community kick each other when they're down. The Irish community kick each other when they're down. Only we, our people, who gets attacked by everybody from all fronts, from every angle, all the time. Nobody ever forgives anything we do, but we forgive everything from everybody that does things to us except our own. And that's the only point that I want to make on that. So whether it's true, whether it's not true, just marinate on that. All right. Now, my final word of the day, my final section is final word of the day. And the final word of the day is a gem, a pearl of wisdom. Just something to, resonate with your conscious mind, something for you to ponder, something for you to think about. And it's usually a phrase or a word. It depends. I flip back and forth weekly. When it's a phrase, I say final word. And when it's just one word, I say final thought. Or you know what I mean. When it's a phrase, I say final thought. And when it's one word, I say final word of the day. But, today, this week, the final thought of the day is motion. Motion. Never confuse moving and motion. And I think we do confuse moving and motion, like progressing and we just all about quantity over quality. We want instant gratification. So even when we stand still, things are still happening around us. Everything's always in motion. And where I'm going with that is we're all on the path of life. We all have a vision. We all have something we want to do, somewhere we want to go, something we want to accomplish. And a lot of times we stop and just give up because we're not respecting the motion, the order of things, the journey. Everybody says, I'm on my journey, I'm on my path. Stuff's going to happen. You're not going to be able, stuff outside of your control is going to happen. Things are always in motion. So said all that to say, just because you don't have any visual proof or the proof that you want, that you're progressing, that you're impacting, that you're making a difference, that you're not just spinning your wheels, you're still in motion. It's still happening. But just because it's not happening the way you want it to do, doesn't mean you're still not in motion. It's still happening. Life's still happening. But if you give up, it won't ever happen. So just remember that. Motion. Final word of the day on the Narrative Podcast. And that will conclude this episode of the Narrative Podcast. Thanks for listening. Tune in to me next weekend for another full edition of the Narrative Podcast. But remember to download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your podcast information from. Remember that I broadcast 2 times during the week, once during the weekday, and on the weekend. The weekday is a toss-up. I never know which days. Sometimes I don't do it at all, but just continue to listen to me daily, wherever you get your podcast information from. And follow me on YouTube and Twitter, because the platform that I'm on broadcast directly to YouTube and Twitter. So whenever I'm broadcasting live, it'll go to YouTube and Twitter. Follow me on YouTube and Twitter. You'll never miss a live episode of the Narrative Podcast. I'm Halsey Allen on YouTube, and I'm Halsey Allen on Twitter, or X as it's now called. So on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel, notifications all, and you'll always be notified when I'm making a live broadcast on the Narrative Podcast, or just tune in every single weekend. I never miss a weekend. Download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast. Also, please support I've written a book of poetry titled The Black Card. It's available on poetizer.com. You can purchase The Black Card in poetizer.com's virtual bookstore. They have a virtual bookstore on poetizer.com. And what you want to do is look for my title, The Black Card, and buy it. The Black Card is a 30-page book of poetry. It chronicles, everything we experience as a people, both positive and negative, things we go through. It's basically a survival guide. So it'll make a good coffee table read, good travel book. You will love it. It's really inventive, witty, and creative. Do yourself the hugest favor today. Go to poetizer.com's virtual bookstore and purchase my book, The Black Card. Purchase your copy of The Black Card today, or get your Black Card revoked. Last order of business, I got a personal poetry blog on blogger.com called Halsey's Poetry Corner. This is basically a collection of my poetry that I write. I just write poetry spontaneously in the moment. I don't premeditate about anything that I'm going to write about, no subject matter, no title, no nothing. I just start typing and bam, that's the poetry. Oddly enough, the way it's structured, you would think that I spent all day thinking about it, but if you go visit the site, you're guaranteed to find a piece of poetry that you can identify with. My tagline for it is Halsey's Poetry Corner, poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. When you read it, you'll find out why. The best way to support me is visit my link on Halsey's Poetry Corner, www.mrhalseysblogs.com. Share the link or a poem featured on my poetry blog on all platforms, like whatever platform you're active on, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, WordPress, whatever you're active on, go share a poem from my poetry blog on all platforms. On the visual ones, you might have to, shout my poetry blog out, like on TikTok or YouTube or whatever. But definitely just go check it out, support it. Like I said, thank you. This has concluded another episode of the Narrator Podcast. Join me again this weekend for a full edition of the Narrator Podcast. Download this episode, our previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast. And I'm Halsey Allen. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. And I'm asking you to join me in my quest to change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time on my end, I want you to change the narrative one episode on your end on social media, one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen and the Narrator Podcast signing off. And it's like that.
You are now listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.